The fall of humanity. The orbital defense platform AGIS-7 shuddered as another volley of reinplasm torpedo impacted against its failing shields. Commander Alina Shaw steadied herself against the command console, ignoring the trickle of blood from a gash above her left eye. Status displays flickered with damage reports across the view screen, most showing critical failures. Shield integrity at 12%. Commander Lieutenant R reported, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. Reactor cooling systems are failing. We have maybe 10 minutes before catastrophic overload. Alina nodded grimly. Aegis-7, the last functioning orbital defense platform in Earth's protective network, was dying, and with it humanity's last conventional defense against the Viridian arm met. What about the ground forces? She asked, already knowing the answer. Colonel Wei's hologram flickered into existence at the center of the command deck. His uniform was torn and smudged with ash, the background behind him showing the ruins of what had once been the United Earth Defense Force headquarters in Geneva were overrun. Commander Wei reported, Paris has fallen. The Moscow bunker was breached 3 hours ago. Beijing is holding on by a thread, but it's only a matter of time. He paused, exhaust evident in his eyes. We're looking at total surface defeat within 48 hours. Alina absorbed this news without visible reaction. 6 months of brutal warfare had prepared her for this inevitability. The Varians, with their crystalline exoskeletons and quantum phase weaponry, had systematically dismantled humanity's defenses. World by world, colony by colony, Mars had fallen within days. The Jupiter settlements lasted barely a week. Now Earth, humanity's cradle, was about to join the list of conquered worlds. Colonel, initiate Protocol Omega on all remaining military installations. Alina ordered. Wei's eyes widened slightly. Commander, that would mean I know exactly what it means. Colonel Bina cut him off. Deny the enemy anything they can use. Wipe all databases, destroy all advanced tech. I want them to define nothing but ruins and ashes. After a moment's hesitation, Wei nodded. Understood, Commander. Protocol Omega initiated. His hologram flickered and vanished. Alina turned to her communications officer. Send the encoded Lazarus signal to all designated receivers. The young officer swallowed hard but complied without question. The Lazarus protocol was known to only a handful of individuals in the highest echelons of Earth military command. Humanity's final desperate gambit signal sent. Commander, the officer confirmed incoming transmission from the Fraction flagship. Rams announced they're requesting our surrender. The Lena's laugh was bitter. Put it through. The main view screen shifted to display Ashian High. Commander, its crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the lights of its command center. The alien's 4 compound eyes seemed to study Ano with cold calculation. Human. Commander, the Fran translator rendered its clicking speech into English. Your resistance has been noted for its tenacity, if not its wisdom. Further struggle is futile. Surrender your platform and order all remaining human forces to lay down their weapons. The Viridian hegemony offers mercy to those who accept their place in our new order. Thena straightened her uniform, wiping blood from her brow. High Commander, I appreciate your offer, however I feel obligated to inform you of something about humans that your intelligence may have overlooked. The Viridian tilted its crystalline head. And what would that be? We are very, very bad at accepting our place. Elena replied with a grim smile. Lieutenant Ramirez, terminate communication and divert all remaining power to the main cannon. The Varian's image vanished, replaced once more by the tactical display showing the massive Viridian flagship flanked by its destroyer escorts. Ma'am, even with full power our cannon won't penetrate their flagship shields. Ramirez protested. We're not aiming for the flagship, Elena replied, inputting coordinates into her console. Target their primary command destroyer, the one with the pattern matching analysis systems. Without it they'll be operating partially blind for at least a few hours. Understanding dawned on Ramirez's face. Buying time for protocol. Lazarus. Ella nodded. Once every minute counts now. Reactor status critical. 7 minutes to overload. Perfect, that gives us just enough time. The Lena opened the station-wide communication channel. All personnel, this is Commander Shaw. AGIS-7 has served Earth proudly, and so have all of you. Evacuation protocols are now in effect. All non-essential crew proceed to escape pods immediately. She waited as her crew made their decision. Some ran for the pods as ordered, but many, including her bridge officers, remained at their posts. Alina had expected nothing less. It has been an honor serving with you all, she said simply. The next 5 minutes passed in focused activity as they prepared the station's main cannon for its final shot. Outside the escape pods jettisoned away from the doomed platform, tiny sparks of hope racing toward the Earth's atmosphere. Target locked. Rams reported. Cannon charged to 130% capacity. Firing solution complete. Fire, Elena ordered. Aegis-7 shuddered as its main cannon unleashed a blinding beam of concentrated energy on the tactical display. They watched as the beam struck the front command destroyer. For a moment the alien vessel's shields held, then collapsed as the beam burned through, splitting the ship into molten Fragments alarms blared across the command deck as the reactor's overload accelerated 1 minute to detonation. The computer announced calmly. Bina sat in her command chair watching as the Bryan fleet reoriented itself, momentarily confused by the loss of their command vessel. It wouldn't take them long to reorganize, but every minute of chaos might make a difference. Do you think it will work? Rammers asked quietly, taking his station beside her. Lazarus Helena stared at the approaching Virian vessels. It has too. We've sacrificed too much for it to fail. As AIS-7's reactor reached critical mass, Alina closed her eyes. In her mind she pictured the secret facility deep beneath Antarctica's ice sheet where 100,000 of humanity's finest soldiers SL in cryogenic suspension, their bodies enhanced with experimental biotechnology that had been deemed too dangerous for widespread use. Alongside them rested the autonomous manufacturing systems and advanced weapons prototypes that conventional military leaders had considered too unproven for the defense of Earth, all of it waiting, hibernating, ready to awaken. When the Lazarus signal arrived 30 seconds to detonation, the computer announced, "Even if they defeat us today," Elena murmured, "this isn't the end." The Virian ships grew larger in the view screen as they approached the failing station, eager to capture whatever secrets it might hold. They would find none as Aegis 7's reactor overloaded. The resulting explosion vaporized the platform and 3 nearby Grayan vessels. The light of the detonation was visible from Earth's surface, a final defiant star flaring against the darkness deep beneath Antarctica's ice. A signal was received. Systems that had lain dormant for years began to warm up. Cryogenic pods initiated their awakening sequences. Lazarus had begun the awakening. Darkness, then pain, the searing agony of frozen cells coming back to life, of blood beginning to flow through veins that had been still for far too long. Major Dominic Reed gasped as consciousness returned, his enhanced lungs drawing in recycled air with desperate urgency. His vision swam, blurry shapes gradually resolving into the curved, transparent surface of his cryogenic pod as it completed its opening sequence. Vital signs stabilizing, announced a calm synthetic voice. Neural pathways reconnecting. Welcome back, Major Reed. Dominic blinked rapidly, his genetically modified eyes adjusting to the dim blue emergency lighting that illuminated the vast chamber all around him. Hundreds of identical pods were activating, their occupants stirring to life after their long sleep. Through the disorientation of revival, a single question formed in his mind. How long? He rasped, his vocal cords stiff from disuse. You have been in cryogenic suspension for 7 years, 3 months and 17 days. The facility's responded. Lazarus protocol was activated via emergency channel 48 hours ago. 7 years, much shorter than the decades they had prepared for, but still long enough for the world above to have fallen to the fronds. Dominic forced his enhanced muscles to respond, pushing himself upright in the pod. The movement sent fresh waves of pain through his body, but he welcomed it. Pain meant he was alive. Status of the facility, he asked, climbing unsteadily out of the pod. Facility is at optimal operational capacity. The AI reported all primary systems functional. Manufacturing units active. Armory unlocked. Tactical data integration in progress. Dominic nodded, watching Mrs. fellow soldiers emerged from their pods. Each had been selected from the ALAG units of Earth's military forces, then subjected to the controversial Prometheus enhancement program. Their bodies had been rebuilt BU on a cellular level, stronger bones reinforced with carbon nanotubes, muscles enhanced with synthetic protein structures, neural systems accelerated with quantum bioprocessors. They were no longer merely human, they were what humanity needed to become to survive. Major Reed called. The familiar voice. Dominic turned to see Colonel Isabel Chin approaching, already dressed in the base layer of her combat suit. Like all of them, her body showed the subtle signs of the Prometheus enhancement, slightly elongated limbs, the faint iridescent sheen to her skin where night clusters gathered beneath the surface. Colonel Dominic acknowledged with a nod. "What's the situation topside?" "Not good," Chin replied grimly. "The AI is still compiling data from the limited sensor network that survived, but it appears Earth is fully under front control. The last organized military area resistance ended 6 years ago. 6 years of occupation, 6 years for the Varians to establish themselves, to grow complacent in their victory. And the civilian population?" Dominic asked, though he feared the answer. Chen's expression darkened. "Approximately 30% of the pre-war population remains. The rest were either killed in the initial invasion or processed." Dominic repeated, a cold bread settling in his stomach. "The Varians have been converting human cities into resource extraction centers," Chin explained. "Humans are being used as labor. Those deemed unsuitable are recycled for their organic compounds." Anger flared hot in Dominic's chest, not the uncontrolled rage of his pre-enhanced self, but a focused, calculating fury that his modified brain channeled into tactical thought. "How many of us woke up?" 97% successful revival rate, the AI interjected. 93 6 combat-ready personnel and our equipment and answer. The wall behind Chin slid open, revealing an armory filled with matte black combat suits unlike any conventional military armor designed specifically for the enhanced soldiers. Each suit was a marvel of integrated technology, a second skin of molecular-aligned carbon fiber and reactive polymers embedded with sensor arrays and neural interfaces. The Phantom suits are ready, Chin said, as are the weapon systems. The manufacturing units have been running since the Lazarus signal arrived. Dominic approached the nearest suit, running his hand over its surface. The material responded to his touch, warming slightly. These suits had been theoretical when he entered Cryo's Sate, the product of frantic research by Earth's brightest minds. As the Virian fleet approached the outer colonies and the Vanguard protocol, he asked quietly. Chen's eyes met his. Confirmed. Active. We're receiving encrypted communications from 23 sleeper cells across the globe. They've been preparing for our awakening. Dominic nodded slowly. The Vanguard protocol had been the most audacious aspect of humanity's final defense strategy, placing deep cover operatives among the surviving human population, people who would appear to accept fraction rule while secretly monitoring enemy patterns and establishing underground networks of resistance. Time to wake the beast then, Dominic said, reaching for his combat suit. Over the next 12 hours the facility hummed with purposeful activity as 93,000 enhanced soldiers prepared for war. The Phantom suits were calibrated to each individual's unique biology. Weapons were distributed and tactical briefings were conducted using the limited intelligence gathered from the surface in the command center. Dominic studied holographic projections of Earth's current state. The Virian had established major control centers in what had once been Earth's largest cities, connected by transit corridors that cut across the landscape like crystal veins. Their architecture was alien and angular, structures of grown crystal and metal rising from the ruins of human civilization. They think they're secure, Dominic observed. 7 years without significant resistance has made them complacent. That's our advantage, Chen agreed. According to Vanguard intelligence, they've reduced their military presence by almost 60%, reassigning ships and troops to other conquests. Dominic gestured to a glowing point on the projection, a massive crystalline structure that had been built atop the ruins of what had once been Singapore, their primary command hub. Yes, Chen confirmed. All administrative functions for Earth operations are coordinated from there. They've consolidated control to minimize resource expenditure. Classic occupation strategy, Dominic murmured. Centralized command established clear supply lines, maintained just enough military presence to crush any resistance. His enhanced mind processed the tactical implications rapidly. They've created their own vulnerability. He turned to face the gathered command staff, all enhanced like himself, all awakened from the same long sleep. The Vexans believe they defeated humanity, he said, his voice carrying across the room. They believe we broke under their superior technology and numbers. What they don't understand is that everything they've seen, every battle, every last stand, every desperate defense, was just the first phase of our strategy. Dominic pointed to the holographic display. Humanity didn't lose the war 7 years ago. We just changed our tactics, and now we show them what we become. The attack plan took shape rapidly. Unlike the defensive war that Earth's conventional forces had fought, this would be a campaign of swift strikes and strategic sabotage. The enhanced soldiers, operating in small teams with their advanced Phantom suits and weapons, would emerge from hidden access points across the globe, targeting Virian communication nodes and supply depot. We don't have the numbers for a direct confrontation, Dominic explained, but we don't need them. We just need to create enough chaos to activate the next phase of Lazarus. As the final preparations were made, Dominic stood before the assembled soldiers in the facility's central chamber, looking out at their faces, all altered by the same enhancements that had changed him, all bearing the same residential resolute expression. He felt the weight of history pressing down upon them. You all know why we're here, he began. We volunteered for the Prometheus program knowing we might wake to a world already lost. That time has come. Outside these walls our species has been conquered, our cities occupied, our people enslaved, or worse. He paused, letting his gaze move across the assembled troops. But humanity is not defeated, not while we stand, not while we remember. The Varians believe they conquered Earth and broke humanity's spirit. They're about to learn how wrong they are. A low rumble of agreement passed through the crowd. Each of you has been enhanced beyond what any human soldier has ever been, Dominic continued. Each of you has been trained to use abilities that our ancestors would have considered superhuman. We are no longer just the defenders of humanity, we are its evolution, its response to an existential threat. He raised his fist. Today we begin the real war, not for territory, not for resources, but for the very future of our species. The Virian thought they were facing a primitive civilization making its Last stand instead they've awakened something they cannot possibly understand. As he finished speaking, the facility's lights shifted from emergency blue to full operational white, illuminating the vast chamber and the thousands of enhanced soldiers who filled it. Humanity's hidden army preparing to rise from the darkness. Operation Resurrection begins in 6 hours. Dominic announced. Get ready. Counter-offensive. The Virian Security Patrol moved through the ruins of what had once been downtown Seattle. With practiced indifference, 7 years of occupation had established a routine. Check the human labor dormitories, inspect the resource processing centers, maintain visibility to discourage any thoughts of resistance. The 4 crystalline aliens, their exoskeletons gleaming in the morning light, expected nothing out of the ordinary. They never saw the attack coming from the shadows of a collapsed office building. 4 figures in matte black phantom suits moved with impossible speed. The first Virian fell before it could reach for its weapon, its crystalline neck severed by a vibro blade that hummed just beyond human hearing. The second managed to turn, raising its plasma rifle before a precision shot from a Gauss pistol shattered its central nervous cluster. The third and fourth Franz activated their emergency beacons, but the signals died in a burst of electronic static as localized EMP devices attached to their communication nodes. Within 12 seconds all 4 aliens lay dead on the cracked pavement. Strike Team Alpha first objective complete. Sergeant Maya Torres reported through her suit's secure communication system. No alarm raised. Moving to Phase 2 across the globe. Similar scenes played out in synchronized precision. Enhanced human soldiers emerged from hidden bunkers, sewer systems and abandoned subway tunnels, striking at Brian patrols and communication. The attacks were not random but followed a carefully constructed pattern designed by the tactical AIS in the Antarctic facility. Each strike calculated to create maximum confusion while minimizing the chance of a coordinated alien response. In the command center beneath Antarctica, Dominic Reed watched the holographic display as hundreds of small blue lights indicated successful operations. Phase 1 proceeding as planned. He observed preliminary reports show 89% success rate on initial strikes. Colonel Chen nodded, her eyes on a secondary display showing real-time feeds from the Phantom suit's integrated cameras. The Varians are still trying to understand what they're facing. They haven't connected the attacks yet. They will soon enough. Dominic replied, we need to move to Phase 2 before they can organize a response. Authorize the Sunburst Protocol. Chen entered the command sequence into her console. Across the global network work of enhanced soldiers, new orders were received and acknowledged. In the ruins of Seattle, Maris received the updated mission parameters through her neural link. Sunburst authorized, she informed her team. Moving to the substation, the 4-person strike team moved through the devastated city with preternatural awareness, their enhanced senses detecting Brian physicians long before visual contact. The Phantom suits adapted to their surroundings, the molecular structure shifting to match nearby surfaces. Not true invisibility but a chameleon-like camouflage that made them nearly impossible to spot. Their target was a nondescript building that had once housed electrical infrastructure. Now it served as one of the thousands of communication nodes in the Virian occupation network, a vital link in the aliens' command and control system. 2 guards at the entrance, reported Corporal Jen, the team's recon specialist. His enhanced vision could pick out details at ranges that would have required specialized equipment for unmodified human. Standard rotation pattern. 20-second window between surveillance suites. Maya processed this information through her tactically optimized brain. Rodriguez Chin, take positions on the flanking routes. Law, you're with me. We breach. On my mark. The team split up, moving into position with fluid efficiency. Maya watched the Virian guards through her suit's optical enhancement, counting down the seconds between their program movements. When the moment came, she gave the signal. 4 silenced. Those rounds found their targets simultaneously. The Virian guards collapsed, their crystalline bodies shattering on impact with the ground before the automated systems could register the guards' life signs. Terminating. Maya's team was already inside the facility. 6 minutes until the next automated check-in, Maya noted as they moved through the dimly lit corridors. Plant the package and clear out. Corporal Law, the team's technical specialist, approached the central communication node, a crystalline structure pulsing with alien energy patterns from a compartment in his suit. He removed what appeared to be an ordinary maintenance module of Front design. It was anything but ordinary. The device had been manufactured in the Antarctic facility based on specifications provided by Vanguard operatives who had spent years studying Brian technology. Once installed, it would appear to function normally while secretly altering the data flowing through the network. Package in place. Law confirmed after connecting the device to the alien system. Activation in 3, 2, 1. Sunburst is live throughout The occupied Earth. Thousands of similar devices were being installed in Virian communication nodes. Each one individually would be nearly impossible to detect. A minor anomaly easily dismissed as system degradation. Together they formed a neural network that would gradually corrupt the aliens' command protocols. All teams report completion status. Dominic ordered from the Antarctic Command Center. The reports flooded in. 82% success rate globally, with most failures occurring in heavily fortified fractions. Strawn bolds. It was enough. Initiate sunburst cascade. Dominic commanded. Colonel Chen entered the final authorization code. Cascade initiated. Time to full system compromise 14 hours. Dominic nodded. Now we move to phase 3. Prepare the Lazarus facilities for surface deployment. Beneath the Antarctic ice, massive hangar doors that had remained sealed for 7 years began to slide open. Inside, rows of advanced combat vehicles waited. Aircraft, ground transports and mechanized walkers, all designed specifically for the enhanced soldiers and manufactured in secret before the fall of Earth. Similar facilities, smaller but no less well equipped, were activating across the globe. Hidden bunkers in the Rockies, the Alps, the Urals, the Andes and dozens of other remote locations each had been established years before the Virian invasion, stocked with advanced weapons and vehicles, then sealed until the Lazarus Protocol was activated. The Vexans are detecting anomalies in their network, reported the communications officer. They're beginning to realize something's wrong. Right on schedule, Dominic replied. By the time they understand what's happening, it will be too late. In the Virian command hub in Singapore, High Commander Kver was growing increasingly concerned. Reports of attack patrol had been coming in for hours, but the pattern made no sense. The human resistance had been crushed years ago. Their military capabilities, cataloged and eliminated these attacks, showed coordination and technology that should have been impossible. Status report. Corey demanded, his crystalline appendages clicking with irritation. Communication disruptions across all sectors. High Commander reported his second were experiencing data corruption in the primary network. Automated systems are failing in sequence. Deploy the reserve garrisons. Kalor ordered full alert status. We cannot. High Commander, his second admitted command protocols are not being received by outpost stations. We are effectively isolated. For the first time in his long military career, Kfor felt something akin to fear. The Virian hegemony had conquered 17 species across the galaxy, always following the same efficient pattern. Overwhelmed conventional defenses, established control infrastructures, processed the defeated civilization for resources and labor. This coordinated disruption was unprecedented. Send emergency communication to the fleet, he ordered. Request immediate reinforcements. Long-range communications are non-functional. High Commander Cork compound eyes narrowed. How is this possible? The humans had no countermeasures for our technology. We confirmed this through extensive intelligence gathering before the invasion. His second had no answer. Deep beneath Antarctica, Dominic Reed watched as the effects of the sunburst cascade rippled through the Virian network. The aliens' highly integrated systems, normally an advantage, had become their greatest vulnerability. As corrupted data spread from node to node, their command structure was collapsing into chaos. The Varians are blind and disorganized, he announced to the command staff. It's time to show them what humanity has become. Launch all strike forces across the Antarctic landscape. The ice itself seemed to split open as concealed hangar doors revealed their secrets. Advanced aircraft rose into the sky, sleek predatory shapes that bore little resemblance to pre-invasion human technology. Ground vehicles emerged from hidden tunnels, their engines humming with power sources that had been theoretical concepts before the Prometheus program, and with them came the enhanced soldiers in their phantom suits, weapons ready, enhanced bodies primed for combat. They were humanity's evolution, forced by existential threat to become something new, something terrible and magnificent. The counter-offensive had begun. The vanguard strategy. Dr. Elisa Chen kept her head down as she moved through the crowded human labor sector of what had once been Hong Kong. For 6 years she had maintained her cover as a medical technician, serving the front, control population centers, treating injuries and illnesses among the human workers while secretly gathering intelligence and building a network of loyal operatives. Today everything changed. Her neural implant, disguised as a standard fraction worker identification chip, tingled against her skull. The signal she had waited years to receive had finally come. Lazarus is awake. Elisa ducked into an alleyway between worker dormitories, quickly checking to ensure she wasn't observed. From beneath her simple gray worker's garment she removed a small device the size of a coin. One press activated it, sending a coded burst transmission that would be undetectable to standard fraction scanners all across the labor sector. Similar devices activated as other deep cover vanguard operatives received her signal. The sleeper cell was awakening within an hour. Elisa sat in a makeshift command center hidden beneath an abandoned maintenance tunnel. Around her gathered 20 men, And women engineers, former military personnel and technical specialists who had spent years posing as compliant workers while secretly preparing for this day. The enhanced forces have emerged. Elisa informed them, displaying a whole graphic map on a device that had remained hidden for years. Strike teams are engaging Varian forces across all major control centers. Our job is to disrupt their response and assist the liberation of this sector. What about the civilian population? Asked Liu, formerly a structural engineer, now her second in command. There are over 30,000 humans in this sector alone. That's why we're here, Eliza replied. The enhanced forces are targeting Praxian military and command infrastructure. We need to organize the civilian evacuation to the designated safe zones before the heavy fighting reaches the population centers. She activated another holographic display, this one showing detailed schematics of the sector's infrastructure, information gathered piece by piece over years of careful observation. We've prepared for this operation. Shepard begins now. Similar scenes played out in human population centers across the globe as vanguard cells activated. What appeared to the fractions as spontaneous civilian uprisings were actually carefully orchestrated operations guided by operatives who had spent years establishing escape routes and safe house networks in the Antarctic Command Center. Dominic Reed received reports of the Vanguard activation with grim satisfaction. Civilian evacuation proceeding on schedule. He noted Vanguard cells report 87% operational readiness. The Varian are still struggling to coordinate a response. Colonel Chen added their communication network is compromised beyond recovery. Individual garrisons are operating independently without central command. Dominic studied the tactical display. The enhanced strike forces were engaging from military units across the globe, using their superior speed and adaptability to overcome the aliens' technological advantages. But even with the element of surprise and the sunburst disruption, they were still outnumbered and outgunned. In conventional terms, it's time for Phase 4. He decided to activate the NYCKS protocol. Chen's eyes widened slightly. Are we ready for that escalation? We don't have a choice, Dominic replied. The Varians will recover eventually. We need to press our advantage while we still have it. The next protocol represented the most aggressive aspect of humanity's counteroffensive strategy: direct attacks on the critical resource processing centers that the Franz had established in the ruins of major cities. These facilities were heavily defended, but they were also vital to the aliens' presence on Earth. All combat teams initiate Nix protocol. Dominic ordered through the command network. Primary targets are resource centers, secondary targets are planetary defense installations in what had once been Chicago. Major Sarah Kendrick led her battalion of enhanced soldiers toward the massive crystalline structure that had dominated the city center. The Varian resource processing facility towered over the ruins of human architecture, its angular forms pulsing with alien energy. Reading heavy defenses, reported her tactical officer. Automated turrets, energy shields, and at least 200 Vexian troops. Sarah Pro accessed this information through her enhanced mind, running combat simulations and probability analyses faster than any unmodified human could comprehend. Deploy the Phantoms in stealth configuration. Target shield generators first, then communication nodes. Heavy weapons teams will provide distraction on my marker. Soldiers moved with silent efficiency, their Phantom suits shifting to maximum stealth mode as they approached the facility from multiple angles. Unlike conventional troops, they didn't need extensive briefings or constant communication. Their enhanced brains and neural interfaces allowed them to process tactical information as a networked unit, each soldier understanding their role in the larger strategy. In position came the report from the advanced team. Sarah gave the signal, execute. The attack began with a series of precision strikes against the facility's external sensor arrays. Blind the automated defense systems simultaneously. End charges detonated against shield generators, creating momentary vulnerabilities in the energy barriers protecting the structure. The Varian responded with their characteristic efficiency, crystalline troops moving to defensive positions with practiced coordination, but without central command guidance. They fell back on standardized protocols, predictable patterns that Sarah's enhanced soldiers have been specifically trained. Counter Alpha team breach point secured, reported one of her squad leaders. Moving to internal systems. Beta team heavy resistance at secondary entrance. Came another report requesting fire support. SED directed the battle with calm precision, her enhanced perception allowing her to track dozens of simultaneous engagements. Despite the fraction's superior numbers at the facility, her forces methodically dismantled their defenses, pushing deeper into the structure. Similar battles raged across the globe as enhanced human forces targeted fraction processing centers with coordinated precision. These weren't battles of attrition but surgical strikes aimed at critical systems. The kind of warfare the aliens hadn't faced in their previous conquests. In the Singapore Command Hub, High Commander Corey watched in mounting horror as reports of attacks flooded in from across the planet. His command network was in shambles, communications between outposts reduced to emergency channels that were themselves becoming increasingly unreliable. "This is impossible," he hissed, his crystalline appendages clicking in agitation. The humans had no such capabilities. Our intelligence was thorough. Their military technology was centuries behind ours. High Commander, his second, reported hesitantly. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from multiple locations across the planet. They appear to be manufacturing centers." Manufacturing what? Corey demanded. The answer came not from his second but from the facility's perimeter alarms. The Singapore Command Hub, supposedly the most secure Viridian installation on the planet, was under attack. Back in Chicago, Sarah Kendrick's forces had penetrated to the heart of the resource processing facility. The central chamber was vast, filled with machinery designed to break down raw materials, including organic compounds harvested from the human population, into component elements for Viridian use. "Plant the charges," Sarah ordered as her soldiers secured the chamber. "We have 8 minutes before their reinforcements arrive." Her demolitions expert moved quickly, placing advanced explosive devices at critical structural points. These weren't conventional explosives but hybrid weapons developed by the Antarctic facility's manufacturing systems, devices that would not only destroy the physical structure but create an energy disruption that would render the site unusable for years. "Charges set," reported the expert. "Detonation in 7 minutes. All teams begin withdrawal." Sarah ordered. "Rendezvous at Extraction Point Alpha." As her forces pulled back from the facility, Sarah received a priority communication from Antarctic Command. Dominic Reed's voice came through her neural interface with unusual emergency. "Major Kendrick, status report. Mission proceeding as planned," she replied. "Target facility will be neutralized in approximately 6 minutes. My forces are withdrawing now. Accelerate your timetable," Dominic ordered. "We're detecting unusual activity in orbit. The Viridian are calling for reinforcements." Sarah frowned. "Understood. All units. Emergency extraction protocol. Detonation in 2 minutes." She turned to her second in command. "What could they be detecting in orbit?" "Unknown, Major," he replied. "But if Antarctic Command is concerned, we should be too." Sarah nodded grimly. Leighton moved. Her forces withdrew from the facility, with Practi Deficiency disappearing into the ruins of Chicago as the charges counted down. When detonation came, the crystalline structure didn't merely explode, it seemed to implode, collapsing in on itself as exotic energies tore through its molecular structure. Where the processing center had stood, only a smoking crater remained, filled with fragments of shattered alien technology across the globe. Similar scenes played out as enhanced strike teams demolished Brian facilities with synchronized precision. The AEN's occupation infrastructure, built over 7 years of unopposed control, was being systematically dismantled in a matter of hours. In the Antarctic Command Center, Dominic studied the orbital data with growing concern. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system, he reported. "Viridian reinforcements. How many?" Colonel Chen asked. "At least 20 capital ships," Dominic replied grimly. "More than enough to overwhelm our current forces even with our advantages." Chen's expression remained calm, but her enhanced eyes betrayed her concern. "Then we're out of time. We need to activate the final protocol." Dominic nodded slowly. "Send the signal. All remaining Lazarus facilities. Full activation. Authorization code Phoenix Rising. A new dawn." The Viridian reinforcement fleet moved into Earth orbit with practiced precision. Admiral Zoll, veteran of 17 planetary conquests, watched the blue-green world below with confident detachment. The distress signals from the surface indicated some sort of unexpected resistance, but nothing that 20 battle cruisers couldn't quickly resolve. "Full planetary scan," he ordered. "Identify insurgent concentrations and prepare orbital strike patterns." Scanning, Admiral reported. His sensor officer. "Initial readings show widespread disruption of our ground facilities. The insurgents appear to be using some form of advanced stealth technology. We're having difficulty getting clear targets." Sec Stroll's crystalline mandibles clicked in annoyance. "Deploy scoutcraft for atmospheric reconnaissance. I want visual confirmation of primary targets within the hour." Admiral interrupted the communications officer. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the planet's larger moons." The moon's ZX Troll turned his compound eyes toward the main view screen. "There were no reports of lunar installations in our intelligence briefings." The view screen shifted to show a magnified image of Earth's moon. For a moment everything appeared normal, the familiar cratered surface that Viridian surveys had documented years ago. Then impossibly a section of the lunar surface began to move, massive plates sliding apart to reveal what lay beneath. "What in the name of the hegemony?" ZX Troll whispered. A structure was emerging from beneath the lunar reguli, an enormous installation that from sensors indicated extended deep into the moon's interior. As the Admiral Watched in disbelief. The facility's external ports opened and objects began to launch, hundreds of them, then thousands. Analysis, he demanded. Combat vessels. Admiral, reported the sensor officer, his voice tight with alarm. Advanced design, unknown configuration. Energy readings suggest weapons technology beyond our current classification system. Zal stared at the screen in stunned silence. The vessels approaching from the moon were unlike any human ships encountered during the invasion of Earth. Their hulls gleamed with a material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, and their propulsion systems left no energy signature that Brian sensors could interpret. This is impossible, he finally managed. The humans had no such technology. Our intelligence was comprehensive. Admiral, we're detecting similar launches from Mars and Europa and Titan, the sensor officer reported, his voice rising with each word. Multiple hidden facilities activating simultaneously in the Antarctic Command Center. Dominic Reed watched the data streaming in from orbital sensors with grim satisfaction. Phoenix Rising protocol fully activated, he announced to the command staff. Lunar fleet reports full deployment. Mars defense platform online. Jovian and Saturnian contingents responding. This was the final phase of humanity's desperate gamut, not merely a resistance force but a completely new military infrastructure hidden beyond the reach of the initial Vurian invasion. While Earth's conventional forces had fought and died in a seemingly hopeless defense, these secret installations had been completed and sealed, waiting for the signal that would awaken them. The Vurian reinforcement fleet is altering formation, reported the tactical officer. They appear to be shifting to defensive posture. They're confused. Dominic observed. Their intelligence told them they were facing a planetary insurgency, not an interplanetary force with advanced technology. Ology. Colonel Chen studied the tactical display with carefully controlled emotions. Like all of them, her enhanced mind processed the strategic implications with lightning speed. We should press the advantage while they're disorganized. Dominic nodded. Send the orders. All orbital forces engage. The Vurian fleet ground forces continue liberation operations in Earth orbit. Admiral Z. Troll watched in mounting horror as the human vessels, impossible vessels that should not exist, formed up into attack formations. His fleet had arrived expecting to support ground operations against primitive insurgents. Instead, they faced a spaceborne armada with technology that by all appearances rivaled or exceeded their own battle stations. He ordered his training asserting itself through the shock. Deploy defensive screen and prepare main weapons. But even as his ships moved to respond, the first wave of human vessels struck. They didn't attack with conventional energy weapons or kinetic projectiles, but with something new: focused gravitational distortion fields that warped the very space around front ships, stressing their hulls beyond design tolerances. Hull breaches on vessels 7 through 12, reported his tactical officer. Shields ineffective against their primary weapons. Zex Troll's mind raced. This technology was beyond anything the Vurian Imani had encountered in centuries of expansion. Emergency jump protocols, he ordered. We need to withdraw and report to High Command. Jump drives not responding. Admiral, there's some kind of interference field. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Zex Troll felt real fear, not the momentary concern of battle but the existential dread of facing something beyond comprehension. How he demand Ed of no one in particular. How did they hide this from us on the Lunar Command Station fleet? Admiral Maya Cortez watched the battle with the detached analysis of her enhanced mind. Once the commander of Earth's now destroyed orbital defense network, she had volunteered for the Prometheus program and lunar assignment 7 years ago, knowing that she might never see her home world again. The Vurian fleet is in disarray, reported her tactical officer. Their command structure is breaking down. Maya nodded slightly. Continue pressure on their flanks, drive them away from Earth orbit. The battle unfolded with brutal efficiency. The Vurian ships, designed to overwhelm conventional opponents through superior technology, found themselves outmatched by human vessels, incorporating designs and concepts that had been merely theoretical before the invasion threat in what had once been Singapore. High Commander K4 watched his command center systems fail one by one as enhanced human forces breached the outer defenses. Reports from orbit told an impossible story: a hidden human fleet emerging from lunar bases, overwhelming the reinforcement armada that should have turned the tide. How, he asked the human figure who now stood before him, a tall man in a black combat suit unlike anything Crore had seen during the invasion. How did you conceal such capabilities? Major Dominic Reed, having personally led the assault on the Singapore command hub, regarded the Vurian commander with his enhanced eyes. You misunderstood humanity from the beginning, he said calmly. You saw our conventional defenses, our seemingly primitive technology, and assumed you were seeing everything we had. Krell War's crystalline appendages twitched with agitation. Our intelligence was thorough. We Monitored your communications, your research facilities, your military deployments for years before we attacked you. Monitored what we wanted you to monitor. Dominic replied. Project Lazarus began the moment our long-range observatories detected your fleet entering the Oort cloud. Every research facility you identified, every military base you targeted, every defense system you analyzed was allowed to be discovered. Understanding dawned in Carr's compound eyes. A deception on a planetary scale. Dominic nodded. Humanity's leaders made a calculation. We knew we couldn't match your conventional military strength in time, so we showed you what you expected to see: a primitive species struggling to defend itself with inferior technology while hiding your true capabilities. Core finished, not just hiding them, developing them free from your observation. The Prometheus program, the advanced manufacture ING facilities, the lunar and outer system bases, all constructed in locations your surveillance couldn't penetrate. Using technologies your analysts couldn't anticipate. Carr's posture sagged, the crystalline structure of his body losing some of its rigid alignment. The resources required, the coordination, the willing sacrifice of billions. That's what you never understood about humans, Dominic said quietly. We will pay any price to survive. Those who fought and died in the conventional defense of Earth knew they were buying time, not just for themselves but for what humanity would become around them. Enhanced soldiers secured the command center, their movements precise and efficient outside, across the city and around the world. Liberated humans emerged from hiding places and labor camps, guided by Vanguard operatives to safety as the fighting continued. What happens now? Kalor asked. Dominic's enhanced eyes held no mercy. Now the Phronimini learns that conquest has consequences. In the days that followed, the full scope of humanity's transformation became clear. The enhanced forces, supported by the advanced technology hidden for years, systematically liberated Earth from Phron control. The alien occupation forces, cut off from reinforcement and central command, were overwhelmed by opponents who seemed to anticipate their every move in space. The human fleet, ships that combined conventional engineering with theoretical concepts developed in secret, pushed outward from Earth, reclaiming the solar system piece by piece. Mars, the Jupiter colonies, the Saturn outposts, all were liberated in a campaign that moved with relentless precision. 1 month after the activation of the Lazarus Protocol, Dominic Reed stood in the rebuilt command center in Geneva, looking out over a city that bore the scars of invasion and occupation but hummed with the activity of reconstruction. Colonel Chen joined him, her expression thoughtful. The Vurian hegemony has gone silent, she reported. Our deep space monitoring stations detect no signs of another fleet approaching. They're reassessing, Dominic replied, recalculating the cost of continuing this war against an enemy they clearly misunderstood, and if they decide to return in force,